Hello wonderful people, you're welcome to this video. In my previous video, I showed you how to install Kali Linux on VirtualBox. Today, I'll be showing you how to install Kali Linux on VMware Workstation Pro. It could take some time, but at the end of the day, it's worth doing. The first thing is to learn where to download the VMware Workstation Pro. So head over to google.com, and when you're there, you're gonna search for VMware Workstation. Choose desktop hypervisor solutions. Then you're gonna see download Fusion or Workstation. Just click on that. When the next page opens, you need to log in if you haven't logged in. Then here you need to search for the version you want to download. I'm looking for VMware Workstation Pro, so I'm going to search for that. You can see this is Workstation Pro, and this is my search results. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm on a new page. So you can scroll down, and that is it, Workstation Pro 17.52. Click on the first link there. So click on that, on the first link. Kindly note that this version might change by the time you're watching this video. So when the next page opens, you choose the one for Windows, because I'm using Windows, and choose the latest version, which is 17.6.1. And here now, it's time for us to agree to the terms and conditions, and we're going to go ahead to click on download to your right. So what it means here is that it's going to ask for our details. So what you need to do is to register with your details. So here is the compliance verification. Put in your name, whatever has been asked there, and you continue. So now we're back. We're going to click on download. And that is it. Start download. And VMware Workstation Pro is now being downloaded to our PC. So next, we head over to the Kali Linux page. So we're going to click on the first link here, and I click on download. So I'm going to go with installer image because I want a complete control over my hardware access. So I click on this, and it brings me to the latest version of Kali Linux, which is 2024.4. Here there are two options, and this one is selected for me already. So I'm going to go with the installer, which says complete offline installation with customization. So I'm going to click on this download icon here, and it's asking me to save. So I'll choose my desktop and I'll click on save. So I have the Kali Linux being downloaded here. I will get back to you once the download is complete. So after you have downloaded the VMware Workstation Pro, you want to install it, I will just right click on it and run as admin. I'll say yes. To take some time to come up, just be patient. So what I'm going to do here is to click on next, accept terms and the license agreement. I'll say next. I'll just go with the default settings here. So next, next, and next, then install. So I'm going to click on finish. So I'm going to start the VMware Workstation. I'm going to run as admin. Say yes. So this is to create a virtual machine. This is to open an existing virtual machine. So we're going to create a new virtual machine. So I'm going to click on create a new virtual machine. And here we have this. We're going to go with the recommended. Say next. And this option is grayed out, and that is because I don't have a disk or a CD-ROM attached to my PC. So we can either use this or this. So I want to try this option. I want to browse in case you don't see anything here. Then go to the location where you have your Kali Linux ISO file downloaded, and in my own case that is my desktop. So I'm going to click on it and say open. And here's a warning here: could not detect which operating system is in this disk image. You will need to specify which operating system will be installed. Okay, that's not a problem. So this is one option. The other option is to choose I will install the operating system later. What it means is that you can create the virtual machine first, then later you add the ISO file. But now we have added the ISO file while creating the virtual machine. So let's click on next. What operating system are we setting up? It is Linux. So for version, we have to come down here and choose other Linux 6.x kernel 64. Okay, this is the highest for now, so I'm going to go with that. And especially my system is a 64-bit system, so this is my choice. So I'll say next. Virtual machine name. What do we call this virtual machine? Based on the fact that this virtual machine is going to be installed using VMware, I'm going to call that VMware Kali, and it's going to be installed on my document. If you want to change to a new location, you can browse and select a new location. So I'll say next. Then it's time for our hard disk. I have a 500 GB hard drive on this PC, as on my physical PC. So out of that 500, I'm going to allocate 30 gig for my installation. Then this next option, store virtual disk as a single file. I want to do that. This second option is splitting disk makes it easier to move the virtual machine to another computer, but may reduce performance with very large disk. I don't want to move my installation, so I'm good with the first one. So I say next. Now here is a memory. I want to bump up this memory to 2 gig. So I click on customize, and the memory, I have to increase this, or I can easily do it here. 2 gig 2048. Gone are the days where you can use 256 512 for virtual machine setup. And for the ISO file, it has already been added. Remember, we chose the second option. Had it been we chose the third option, this is where we can add the ISO file. When we click here, we browse, and we're going to locate where we have the ISO file. We click on it and say open. But since it has been added, that means we are good to go. So I will say OK. And this is what I have: 2 gig memory, 2 processor and 30 GB hard disk space. So we are good to go. So what I can do now is to power on my virtual machine. So you can see the mouse pointer. I'm going to click inside, the mouse pointer disappears. Then I'm going to choose graphical install. So I'll hit enter. This is to select our language, and my language is English, so I'm going to say continue. Now select your location. So what you do here is typically select wherever you are. So I'm going to select my location and I will say continue. Configure the keyboard. What keyboard do you use? In my country we use British, or I can decide to go with British or American. So that is left for me. So I'll choose British English and I'll say continue. So now enter the hostname for this system. The hostname is a single word that identifies your system on the network. So I don't have issue with this. I'm going to go with the default name, which is Kali, and I'm going to click continue. Now it says domain name. The domain name is a part of your internet address to the right of your host name. Can I skip this? I will say continue, and that is it. Now it's time to set up users and password. You will need to write this thing down because whatever you input here, you're going to need it after installation. So for me, I'm going to use VMware Kali as my username. So I'm going to write it down somewhere so that I don't forget. And I say continue. Then it's asking select username for the new account. Since it's suggesting this for me, I go with same VMware Kali. Now it's asking for password. Choose a password for the new user. Retype the password to verify. So whatever I put here, I'm going to repeat just the same thing here. If I get it wrong, this installation will not continue. So I'm going to input my password and repeat the same thing here. And I say continue. So here now, I have these options for me to choose. I'm going to choose use entire disk, just as it has been selected. I will say continue. Then here, this is a 30 GB I created that I want to use. So I'm going to select it. So you can see here, this says recommended for new users. So I need to click on this. Unless you know what you're doing, then you can select any of this. But as a beginner, we go with this recommendation. So I say continue. So what is here is telling us the memory we have selected. I'm going to just say continue because there's nothing else to do here. And here, the changes listed below will be written on the disk. Otherwise, you will be able to make further changes manually. So what I want to do is this. So I'm going to say yes to write these changes to disk. So I say continue. So now we are installing the base system. Alright, so here we are. We are expected to choose the options we need. So everything here is what I need. It has been selected by default. So I'm going to say continue. This installation is going to take about 30 minutes. So if you have what to do, kindly go and do that and come back later to continue the installation. So here it says install the group bootloader. It seems that this new installation is the only operating system on this computer. If so, it should be safe to install the group bootloader to your primary drive. Warning: if your computer has another operating system, that the installer failed to detect. This will make that operating system temporarily unavailable, though grub can be manually configured later to boot it. Install the grub bootloader to your primary drive. So the thing there is that your Kali Linux is not aware of another operating system on this your machine. So you're going to say yes and you say continue. So here now we're going to choose /dev/SDA and we say continue. So the installation process is about to finish now. Okay, now installation complete. So it's time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation media so that you boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. Okay, here we didn't use bootable flash drive, so we are good to go. And here is our new system. So we are booting into Kali Linux. And that is it. So now it's time for us to log in using the username and password we created. And in case you forget your username and password, you don't have to worry. You check my video on how to reset username and password and you'll be able to know what to do after watching that video. So it's time to log in now. So I'm going to type my username and my password. I hit enter and we're inside of Kali. I don't know, I kind of like the vibe VMware gives me than the one from VirtualBox, but the recent update in VirtualBox upped the game to another level. The recent VirtualBox and the recent Kali Linux version 2024.4 made Kali look more like a desktop environment. So enough of that. Let me get rid of this left panel here and close this. So let's open a new terminal here. Right click and say open terminal here. Fconfig. So that is it. We have Kali Linux installed. There are some things we can do here, like checking up the network. The network is on NAT. In my upcoming videos, I'm going to be explaining what this network connection means and which one you should be on, although it depends on what you want to achieve. So I'll be discussing this in my upcoming videos. So how do we now open Kali Linux at another time, maybe after shutting down our system? First thing, we boot the computer. Then the next thing we do is we open VMware and we click on that. When that opens up, we go to the left. This is the installation we just did. We click on it. Then we're going to click power on the virtual machine. So you wait. So now it's time to put in our username and password. So I click into this field. Then I input my password. And that is it. We are inside of our Kali Linux. For more space, I can hide this library. So you can see that, and that is a root privilege. So everything is ready. We are set to go. So I will be taking a whole cybersecurity and ethical hacking course here. So if you want to undergo that training, simply subscribe to this channel. So to exit from this root privilege, and I'm back to normal. So that is all for this video. I hope to see you on the next one.